Happy Martin Luther King Day, friends. I woke up this morning to a really delightful thing. I had this notification from, I'm not sure, I can't tell you verbatim what YouTube it is, but it's my person that I had studied, David R. Hawkins, MD, PhD. It was about consciousness, and it was extended like about nearly 30 minutes. Like, I noticed that a lot of the videos that they put out are rather short. And even though I really like them, this one was longer. And he was talking about this thing that is just, it's got me so perplexed. And so bear with me on this, okay? Bear with me. And anyway, I know you guys like my content or you wouldn't keep staying with me. And so I appreciate it. So like, this is a little bit like, I don't know. I don't even understand it. Not to say that anything about anybody's intelligence, or lack of understanding or whatever. Anyway, you understand. Okay. So one of the things that I have found the most problematic in this journey that I have been on when I've been creating my content has been, I guess I sort of, in essence, put it in order for something, and then it seems like this really extended period of time before it actually gets served. Or I put in my order kind of like I do for my Free People clothing. And then it like takes this extended period of time to actually come into my physicality. And so this has been the biggest bugaboo. I mean, I was thinking about it even this weekend. I guess I've been in like a really contemplative state. And I was thinking about how when Jesus turned the water into wine, which I really believe happened. I mean, it's such a weird thing. And maybe there are other stories in history of such a thing, but it just seems really weird to me. And the point was that it, for me, and this particular video, is that it couldn't happen months from now. It had to happen in the time frame of the wedding. Okay, so he couldn't say, please turn the water to wine, and then 3 weeks later it turns to wine. That would be too late. It had to happen in a timely fashion. Okay, so I was sitting there and I'm just thinking about this. Okay, and I'm like, oh wow. Okay, so water is a certain molecular structure, and then wine is a certain molecular structure, and he was able to harness or through the power of the creator of everything that is, that like the creator, turn the molecular structure of the water to the molecular structure of the wine. And so I got to thinking about that. I did. I got to thinking about that. Like, I'm not really sure exactly, because I'm not a chemist. Like, I don't understand all of this stuff. So, okay. So David Hawkins would say, this is something that he would say that I was having such a hard time with. I'm like, what does that even mean? He was saying that the idea of cause and effect is not what we think it is. It's not what we think it is. And then I'm sitting there going, okay, well then what is it? Because when my son kicked that ball and it went across the field, it sure as heck seemed like him kicking the ball had the effect of the ball moving, right? And then this morning, I was just so excited because he got onto this subject of cause and effect. Okay, and this is what he said. Okay, that causality is in the mind. He talks a lot about perspective, that everything is not perspective, it's subjective, that everything is subjective to, I guess, the observer, the person who is having the experience. Okay? He says causality is in the mind. He said, what is happening is a potential becomes an actuality. So there was a potential in the field of consciousness that my son would kick the ball and that the ball would move across the field. There was a potentiality in the field, but there were a lot of potentials in the field. There were a lot of potentials in the field. Like they say, there's infinite potentials. And so there was, okay, so just bear with me. And so what we are witnessing, this is what he said. Okay, a potential becomes an actuality that is witnessed sequentially and then makes you think it's causality. Okay. Okay. So what ends up happening is there is this potential in the field. Okay. My son kicking the ball and the ball going across. There's this potential that he's going to kick the ball. And then the ball is moving. So it makes it seem like causality, that him kicking the ball made the ball move. And so, and we see that sequentially. Actually, this is kind of freaking me out because I had just been talking about this. About how things seem sequential, right? Like we go to first grade, second grade, third grade, we go to college. It seems like every year we sequentially have a new, like a birthday, and then we go on to the next year. Okay, so this is how it relates. I hope I'm making sense. Please continue to bear with me. Okay, so my angst, and I've had this for years. I have to tell you, I've had this for years where I've had this angst about this whole idea of the nature of reality and being that we are the creators of our reality. It's bothered me because I couldn't necessarily cause an effect, or at least cause an effect in a time frame that I was comfortable with. And people would always say, these things like when you least expect it, there's just all these little silly phrases that just drove me crazy. And it just felt so random to me. It felt so random that it didn't matter what I did. I wasn't able until almost this miraculous event would happen, and I would make this joke like it just seemed like the stars just aligned. They just aligned in this perfect pattern, and then ding, this thing happened. This potentiality became an actuality. So I don't know. I find this incredibly exciting. To actually, in some ways, which I know this is going to be contrary to all the theorists, to have this idea that I'm not necessarily responsible, that I'm not, that there are infinite possibilities, and then there are some possibilities that become an actuality. I mean, it would be really nice if the water turned to wine, and Jesus, he was kind of a magician, and he was able to do that. And I practice this all the time. Like, this is my life, is practicing this concept alone. Just having a thought in my mind, having a potential in my mind become an actuality in my life. And it seems like there is something going on with the actuality that we don't necessarily have control over. And in fact, I've talked over this over and over again about how control is actually an illusion. And it is the surrendering of the thing to the field. It's the surrendering of the thing to the field for it to become an actuality. Anyway, I don't have it all together, but I'm just going to keep at it. Anyway, I hope this makes sense. It's clear as mud, isn't it? Anyway, love you guys. I'll be back.